Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today's Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas is a very special show because we have someone who has seen world from different vantage points, whether it be industry, whether it is the office of President of America or the Governor of Minnesota. Gopal Khanna ji has been there actively offering his services with all the skills that he accumulated on the way that led him to be recognized at various forums. Just recollecting that he was CIO, which is related to, again, information technology. And what was it that made that job so exciting for him? We'll be talking about that, but more important than that, something which relates to all of us is the concern of being safe and secure in the world of internet. So now, with a new hat of being a cybersecurity expert, here is Gopal Khanna ji with us today. Namaskar, Gopal ji.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So Gopal ji, world has definitely changed, and something which was your concern from the point of security once upon a time, now there are additional challenges that you encounter as an individual. Even if you are sitting safely at your home, there could be something happening which might take away all your savings. So set the stage for us in terms of the additional challenges which I as an individual have in this world.
Well, today, Ashok, you and all of us live in what I call the global cyber marketplace. It is enabled by the maturation of the internet. And this has only happened over the last 20 years. Internet really provides an invisible highway for all of us to transact, to conduct our communications. So literally, with the click of a mouse, you can send a letter and can arrive anywhere in the world. So it's instant connectivity, which we did not have. And that has totally changed the world order in many, many ways because it allows us to communicate. It allows us to do banking transactions. It allows us to buy. It allows us to sell. And it allows us to do transaction when we go to a store, pull out our credit card, and do a transaction. So what is happening is that more and more our information is getting digitized. Actually, it is all digitized already. And it is now available in the public space. So as an individual, you have a bank account. And it's very easy for anybody to be able to intrude and get in and be able to pick up your information. It happened in Target Corporation 3 or 4 months back, earlier this year, as a matter of fact. We lost 40,000 information on card holders. Now, that could be devastating because it has a direct personal economic impact. So yes, when you say that there is a personal impact, yes, there is huge personal impact, and therefore requires security concern on the part of an individual as well as businesses.
So now, as an individual, I have no say how the bank that I'm working with is closely monitoring its internet security. And there could be someone who might be a thief of my identity, and then this identity theft is also somewhere related to internet in some way because they take some information about you by hacking into your computers and all those. So just roughly maybe few bullet points for any consumer. When I say consumer, meaning if you are using internet, and even if internet means only Google to you, but you do end up finding yourself buying few things here and there. So what are the precautions that you would advise typically for anybody and everybody?
Well, as a personal user of computer, and there are literally hundreds of millions of us all over the world, there are a few things that one can do. In the good old days, one can turn on the computer and leave it on. Today, we have a lot of our personal information. We have our friends' contact information. We have their email addresses. We have a lot of personal and otherwise business information. So if we, at the least, we should shut down our computer. You keep it up only when you're using it. There are lots of software, anti-virus software that is available. I would recommend that we should not open an email that's coming from a source that you do not know. Open only the trusted sources. I would even say that be leery about clicking and opening certain attachments that come along. There's a lot of chain emails that float around and go around, and very often they carry viruses that can get, without you knowing it, get implanted on your machine, and your machine can therefore become a launching pad for launching cyber attacks. So we are living in a very complex and complicated world. So as individuals, at the very least, we need to protect as much of our own information that resides on our desktop, even on our cell phones. And that's the least one can do.
Absolutely. And now you hear a lot of banks promoting this kind of idea that you can have bank in your pocket. So using your smartphone wherever you are, you can make the transactions, which is very good in one way. And yet it adds the additional challenges of security for you. At the same time, many people are now lured towards social media to the extent that you end up giving out a lot of personal information, be it on Facebook, or Twitter, or so it is easy for someone to have the trace of your footprints, digital footprints, and that might lead someone who is not with good intentions to do something which might be damaging. From that point of view, the use of social media, as a cybersecurity expert, what would be your advice for people who are sort of obsessed? Minute to minute, they are giving updates on where they are, what they are doing, etc.
Well, genie's out of the bottle. There's no way you can say there should be no social media, because it's a human attribute to socialize and communicate. We are gregarious animals. We like to be in a social setting. We socialize. So that genie's out of the bottle. The social media that is available already has a lot of information. So the question is, particularly the millennial generation, the 20-something, are they going to be safeguarding their personal information with a little bit more care? Depends upon their own personal taste. And some of the second generation or the new generation or the younger generation is ambivalent about that. They are very open. They've grown up in a totally different environment. Our children have never used a rotary phone in their lives. They don't even know what's a fax machine. So they've grown up with totally different technologies that are available to them. And what that does is you got a large cadre of people. And as you can see from Facebook and other social media tools that are available, people are using, and then the usage has gone up very significantly, as opposed to, say, a slightly older generation that came before them. And the baby boomer generation, as we call here in the United States, that generation is less savvy. They are digital immigrants. And the newer generation, the millennials, are called digital natives. It's part of their DNA. So social media you cannot stop. But my advice would be that the younger generation, or as a matter of fact, anybody and everybody that uses social media, needs to take a step back and say, do I want all my personal information there? Or how much of that I want? And that's going to be a person-by-person judgment call. In an open world, in an open society, it's very difficult to even legislate. And even if you were to legislate, the compliance is very difficult. So one has to really take a step back and say, what kind of information I want to put out there? And is it the right thing to do? Can this be used against me?
So let's go to two roads from this area of social media. Of course, everybody is updating what is happening in his, her life with the help of images, with the help of information, where did I go, what did I buy, etc. So that information then in the form of data is being used by big companies to bring relevant advertisements for you. So they'll pop up and you click there and go. So that is one side. Another side which was brought for this nation by Snowden, that government is also opening windows to seek personal data of citizens. And that is not restricted to America. I think many countries probably have this happening in some or the other way. So just your thoughts on both these sides separately. First, is it okay that advertising point of view, a lot of data is accumulated with or without our knowledge? And do you see that we have adequate laws to protect us from this kind of thing?
Well, we live in an open society. So if you go back, when we were doing our trade and business in the mainstream, in a village or a small town, I as a customer would walk into a store, and when I went there many times, you would recognize my face, you would recognize my name, you would greet me, you would know what my tastes were, what I'm buying. So you were, as a service provider, quite aware of who I am, what I buy, and what my tastes are. And you could cater to me in a very personal way. And as a customer, I appreciated that because I got that treatment. Today in the digital world, when the transactions are done, and you are, say, a target corporation or you're a bank, you already have my information, digital information, because of the products and services I've acquired. So what the companies are doing from a very positive perspective is to understand me as a customer and catering to my needs. And that's good. As for advertising is concerned, that too has a positive ramification. Where it becomes challenging is when it becomes intrusive or is used for the wrong purpose. And there are many ways it can be used for the wrong purpose. And we'll talk about that in terms of their nation states who can literally use all of that information for major cyber attacks. But from a very domestic, day-to-day use perspective, there are two sides of the coin. And it's very difficult to say, don't collect my data or don't even use it for anything. Because then what I'm saying is I'm shutting myself and putting myself in a cocoon. By all means, companies have and are required to get permission. And if you don't want to receive an email, you can click the button and say, please don't send me an email. If you're getting advertisements that you don't want, you can stop them. So in a highly, I wouldn't say regulated, but well managed or a society that is run by rule of law, we do have a lot of protections. And if for some reason there is a scenario where that does not happen, we have recourse. We can approach our local authorities, and we will get a response. And they will take to task anybody who misuses the information as well.
So before we get to the national level and we talk about national security and the cyber security threats, let's talk about the human side first. And I remember having read about you that you grew up in Kanpur. The way your family was, it was a joint family system, so 4 generations were living under the same roof. That is not the case in most of the families, even in India now. And of course, once you are away from India, the chances of having more than 2 generations under one roof are pretty reduced, actually. Mm-hmm. So, and add to it the presence of smartphones, instant connectivity, knowing about anybody in any part of the world instantly. So that gives you a sense of familiarity with your family members without actually having real communication with them. So how is it working out in terms of interpersonal relationship amongst family members? What has been your observation?
It has been a boon for people at a very personal level. Today, a grandma sitting in Florida can communicate with their grandchild growing up in California instantly and have a rapport and interaction. My son, who lives in New York City, and our daughter, who lives in California, are very often using the Skype. And they are able to talk with grandma at home. My mother lives with us. So there's instant connectivity has been very good for enhancing communications. So even though with industrialization, there has been a movement of people moving away from their own little towns, internet has provided a huge opportunity for us to stay connected. Friends can be reached. All boys in an association that I had been part of, I can go back and I can check out where my old friends are and then catch up on our old friendships. So absolutely, it has been tremendous opportunity. It has created tremendous opportunity for people to communicate a lot more and develop new friendships as well. And as a matter of fact, there are a lot of new services that are emerging where the matrimonies are happening as a result of that. People can send their bios or what they would like, what kind of person they want to meet. So in the good old days, we used to have matchmaking at a very personal level. But here, the medium has changed. All that has happened is we are now operating and living in an invisible world, but the same human attributes are there.
So I probably am repeating what you just said. So unlike many people, you don't think that internet or this instant connectivity has worked against human touch as far as communication is concerned. You feel it is helping. It is not taking away that warmth which people would feel for each other when they are actually meeting and not meeting through internet. So somewhere I just look at it and I think many people who are in their 40s, 50s, of course 60s, they find themselves at a strange spot because their kids know much more about the world and they know much more about the computers, definitely. You were also you are known for being innovative in business. And if I'm saying it correctly, in 2011, you were honored amongst the premier 100 IT leaders. Now, let us look at the innovative approach and the need of security on national level. If I may recollect what you just mentioned about Target and those days when these hackers were traced, probably they were somewhere in Russia. So it's an international thing now. So you may think you are safe, but you are not safe. Now, using this innovative word again, what is it that you think should be done differently to feel safer?
Well, there are two or three things that you are alluding to. One is the innovation component as to how innovation can be created as a result of this new medium that we operate in. So let me address that. With each emergence of technology solution over the last 100 years of industrialization, what it has always done, it has given an opportunity to revamp one's business model. And the companies that have failed to have gone out of business. So even here in the United States, if you look at it over the last 100 years, a lot of companies have gone out of business because they were not responsive and fast enough to use and apply the new technology solutions to their business models and re-engineer them. We are at a stage where that change of new technologies coming into the marketplace is at a furious pace. So the velocity of change and the volume of change has increased, and the time for application has shrunk very substantially. So 50 years ago, you had 2 to 5 years to respond to a new invention in a competitor. But today, you don't. So what the technologies do today is allows you to rethink your business model. And say, for example, Amazon. They didn't even exist 20-some-odd years ago. And they saw an opportunity because they said people want to buy online. So they started offering and selling books online. They totally destroyed the bookstore model of the neighborhood. Not that these companies did not know that there's internet and technology available, but their application was so slow that a disruptor came and totally destroyed them, the business model. And today, as we speak right now, that's exactly what is happening. So the opportunity that people have for innovation is through application of what's available. And that's where, when I talk about innovation, that's what I'm referring to, that you can re-engineer your business model and have a first mover advantage in the marketplace. Whether your business is based in Europe, India, China, anywhere in the world. You can compete. And as Thomas Friedman pointed out brilliantly in his book, The World is Flat, it really is really flat. If not physically, virtually it is. So anybody sitting anywhere in the world can provide a solution and grab the market share. It is a level playing field for anyone, whether they are in South Africa, India, China, anywhere in the world. They do not have to be in a developed economy the way we have known of in the past. So now, that's where the innovation part comes in, and that's where the global impact is. Go ahead.
No, I know you have something more, but I just thought of it. So we are talking about whether you are in this part of the world or that part of the world. It's a level playing field, as you mentioned. But whether you are a man or a group with good intention or bad intention, again, this is the same field. So in order to have your counter-terror-oriented strategies, you need additional resources and alertness on the internet space so that you are not harmed that way. From that point of view, do you think, let's talk about America, is America well equipped to protect itself? And since you also know about India, so how would you rate India's initiatives in this regard of protecting itself on cyberspace?
Well, again, there are 2-3 things that you're pointing out, and then they make sense. One is cyber marketplace is an open field. It's almost like the Western Wild West, as we used to call it in America. It's a no man's land. There are no laws, rules, light bulbs, or street lights. It really is. Anybody is playing their own game because those norms have not yet been established. So international laws are way behind managing the flow of interactions, whether they be good or bad or ugly. And therefore, anyone sitting anywhere, and there are nation states, China, Russia, have cyber armies that are very substantial, and the only goal is to figure out as to how they can intrude and bring down the electrical system, the public utility system. They can hack your computers, your corporations, demolish them. They can steal your intellectual property, replicate the products, and sell them much faster. They can steal any information, and it's being done. The cyber threats are, and really, theft is happening because somebody has ill intention and they want to steal your resources. Coming at the same time to your question about India, United States readiness, everybody's working very hard to catch up because they're living in an open society, in an open world. So there's no amount of military posture or positioning one can take from a defensive perspective. One can keep on chasing this running train. In terms of India's readiness and United States and Western world, it's all a matter of their business. The business interests need to be managed better and differently. And because there is a threat to that supply of the business supply chain, anybody and everybody that's involved is vulnerable. So take, for example, India. India has grown very substantially in the last 20 years, has a huge market segment. Over $100 billion of its economy is coming from IT services. And if their clients are in Europe, United States, or India itself, or anywhere in the world, should there be a cyber attack in this continuum anywhere, their business is vulnerable. So everybody has to protect at a very local level, but also be concerned at a more geopolitical and larger level. So companies, whether it's US companies, and we've seen, my colleague at the state of Utah was fired because somebody in the supply chain did not manage the security protocols and the state systems went down.
So just looking at the time constraint, yes, Gopalji, and let us say you are sitting across the Prime Minister of India, and the discussion is about what India should do in order to increase its preparedness as far as cyberspace is concerned. Anything that you think you would like to suggest him?
Well, there are three, four things. As a prime minister, as a leader, he can bring more awareness about cyber threats, cyber security, have the government assets better secured and controlled and managed at the very level. Second one is to set the tone for the industry at large. There's a huge opportunity in the global marketplace. It's an open society. At the same time, the businesses need to protect themselves, but that awareness can be created. There does not need to be a government intervention. However, the businesses need to get energized. The third component is that India needs to take a look at its own laws, internal laws, defensive from a security perspective, and a variety of laws need to be re-examined. Privacy laws need to be re-examined in the context of the new world. Those laws were constructed at the time of the independence, 67 years back, but they need to be revamped.
I think, sorry again, just to interrupt you, but just in last 1 minute, I wondered, as cybersecurity expert, has there been anything which you consider was very exciting or very satisfying so far?
For me personally, the good part has been that I've been able to reach out to the public and be able to educate them and make them aware, and largely because of my own background, having worked in technology, government, and business. So I understand the policy side of it. I need the business opportunity side of it, as well as how technology businesses can flourish. So for me personally, it's been very exciting because for me, it's a medium for change, for transformation, for excellence. Of course, there's a negative side to everything in life, but if we focus on what it can do for you, I think the world has just opened up.
Wonderful. The world has opened up, but we are going to close. And as we close, what Gopalji just mentioned, everybody is not nice. But then if all were nice people, there was no hit movie. So villains are needed. And how to counter them on the cyberspace. So smart people like Gopalji are helping. And what is satisfying him is this power of right information to right people to safeguard their interest as cyber security expert, the new role after having served with governor and president of America. Gopalji from Minnesota in New York sat down with us and talked about various aspects related to cybersecurity. I really appreciate your presence, sir.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you very much. And thanking all of you with lots of good wishes for staying safe on the road as well as on the cyberspace. This is Ashok, Vyas.